Hello, everyone. I'm back. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't really know why I went inactive for so long, even though I'm not really doing much. I was out of town for like 10 days, but yeah, I don't know what got into me. I guess I just didn't really know what to make into videos of, but I decided I'm gonna make another movie tier list like I did with Star Wars. I'm doing it with the MCU this time now that Thor Love and Thunder is out. Um, Spoiler warning, there will be spoilers for Thor Love and Thunder and all these other movies here. So yeah, I'll be ranking them from worst to best, in my opinion, of course. Now, first, I deleted F, E, and D tier because I do not think there are any below average MCU movies. The worst ones are average. Um, this franchise has been consistently good from beginning to end, or at least consistently decent. So yeah, there's 29. So this might take a while. Starting with number 29 in C tier is most people's least favorite MCU movie, Thor: The Dark World. Um, it really just suffers from having some really uninteresting villains. I didn't hate Malekith, but really he just was kind of flat. Um, and yeah, it's just there really wasn't too much to work with here, and it was I haven't watched it in a while, but it just wasn't that good. The main issue is the villain was completely just not good. Um, the scene with like the whole like Viking funeral thing with Thor's mom was like a really good scene though. That was actually probably the best part of the entire movie. Overall, I
When
don't
I was
hate.
growing up,
What
I
the heck?
would make my own little homemade music video.
Yeah, I didn't ask advertisement. What? Why did it have volume on? Whatever. So yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate any MCU movies, as I've already made clear. But that one comes out at the bottom. Number 28 is the Incredible Hulk. Um, really, it just suffers from being too slow throughout most of the movie, to me at least. And Edward Norton is okay as Bruce Banner, but honestly, I think Mark Ruffalo is just better. Um, the general guy is completely uninteresting. Um, he's in a couple much better MCU movies later down the line, but this is where he made his debut, and he really just wasn't good. I didn't really care about this character at all. Um, and the Abomination was all right. So yeah, overall, uh, whatever. 27. The only the only C tier MCU movie that is from phases 3 or 4, so basically like pre 2015, pre 2016, whatever. The only one that isn't from before then is Captain Marvel. It suffers from being too long and slow. Um, I don't really like. I've seen a lot of people that really don't like Brie Larson's performance. I'm not one of them. I think she did an alright performance. It's just too slow. And I don't think the climax, like the fight at the end, was really that great. Um, it was still like decent, but I just didn't really like it that much. The I if like based off the first time I watched it in theaters, it'd probably be B tier. But then now that I've thought about it and watched it again, I didn't quite like it as much. Um, and also, I don't really think the villain was that good either. Um, so yeah. All right, and 26 is Iron Man 2. Where is Iron Man 2? That's Iron Man 3. Here's Iron Man 2. The weakest of the Iron Man trilogy. Again, not bad. None of these movies on this tier list are bad. But it suffers from really just being not that interesting. The villain is alright, but really that's it. Um, I don't really have much to say about Iron Man 2, other that it's just whatever. Yeah. Moving on. The last in C tier and at number 25 is Thor. Um, Now there are some high points in this movie. Loki is great. He has been great in literally every movie he's been in. Um, the whole like trying to be the whole figuring out how to be worthy thing. I think was a pretty good story thing. I think it had an overall decent story, but again, it suffers from outside of Loki, the villains are kind of garbage. Laufey was just one of the most boring villains in the MCU to me. Um, but I don't have much more to say about this. Yeah. Thor C tier. Anyways, moving up to B tier. At 24, we have what I think is by far the worst Phase 4 MCU movie, and that is Black Widow. I really did not like this movie that much. I didn't hate it either. It was decent, but honestly, I might even move it down to C tier. But yeah, um, again, it was way too slow. The characters were good, except for the villain. The villain is awful, and I don't really care about him at all. But the most of the characters were good. It's just too slow. Honestly, this movie would have benefited from coming out before Endgame. But it came out after, so yeah. 23 is Iron Man 3. Um, a step up from Iron Man 2, but worse than Iron Man 1. My main problem with it is that I don't really like the whole Ben Kingsley, whole Mandarin twist thing. Although that does, I guess, kind of pay off in a certain Phase 4 movie that we'll be getting to much later. But yeah, Iron Man 3, Aldrich Killian was okay. And I like the whole PTSD plot line thing from the Avengers. Um, like Iron Man having to deal with the it's just PTSD from basically almost dying in space. So yeah. Also, the kid is kind of annoying, but overall, as far as kids and movies go, he's not bad. Definitely much better than the kids from Jurassic Park. That's what I'll say. Speaking of Jurassic Park, that same actor goes on to be in Jurassic World. So yeah, that's Iron Man 3. 22, this was actually an unpopular opinion, but I really did not like Spider-Man Far From Home that much. Um, Mostly because I don't like that Mysterio was this dude with drones. Otherwise, the movie was good, but I just don't like that Mysterio was this random guy, just this guy with drones that doesn't like Tony Stark. Um, I would have liked if he was like actually had powers but was still a villain, um, or if he was actually a good dude and that the whole element storm things were the main problem. But yeah, um, maybe it's like that from the comics. I don't know anything about Marvel comics, so maybe I'm misinformed and that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, I just didn't like that much. Otherwise, the movie is great though. Anyways, at 21 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I'm going to go ahead and rank Ant-Man at 20. They're both decent. They're both funny movies that you're really not supposed to take too seriously. Um, and I don't really dislike anything about them, but outside of the funny factor, there's really not anything too spectacular about them. Overall, they're okay. And the last beat here at number 19 is Doctor Strange. Um, again, it is pretty slow, at least in the beginning parts, but Dormammu is a really interesting thing, and the whole I've come to bargain scene was brilliant. The characters were overall alright. Um, yeah, Caecilius was also a decent villain. But outside of the effects, I didn't see anything particularly spectacular outside of the whole wacky visuals and, of course, the I've come to bargain thing. Overall, it's good. Anyways, this is actually another unpopular opinion, but I actually kind of liked Eternals. Eternals is number 18 for me. Yes, it was slow, but I really liked, I think the end fight absolutely made up for it. Um, and just the characters. I generally liked the characters too. Um, and they were completely new to me. I didn't know about any of these characters before this movie, so it was interesting to see the powers, what abilities each one had. So yeah, and also maybe I have a little bit of bias because one of the actors in here is also in Godzilla vs Kong, and MonsterVerse bias for me. So maybe, but still, I generally like this movie. Maybe if I rewatch it, I won't like it as much, but I liked it. Anyways, at number 17 is the weakest of the four Avengers movies, Avengers Age of Ultron. I think this one is. Is it? No. That's the Avengers. This is Avengers Age of Ultron. So, it is the weakest of the Avengers quadrilogy, but it is still really good. Ultron is actually one of my favorite villains of the MCU. And the whole, panning shot of all the Avengers just fighting off the bots was, I think, really interesting. Quicksilver was I guess, alright, but Wanda would become one of the more important characters in the later movies. She would also become very overpowered in the later movies. But yeah, overall, really good. It's just that some of these other MCU movies outdo it. At number 16 is the first MCU movie, Iron Man. Overall, it it started it all, but I don't really give extra points for that. I only consider the movie itself, and not anything it started. But yeah, Iron Man is really good. It basically, it's a good story about how the villain becomes the hero, or something like that. Obadiah Stane was overall a alright villain, but I didn't really like him that much. But really, Tony Stark is the star of the show, and his character arc was absolutely greatly done. So yeah. Anyways, number 15. Reception on this movie has been very mixed, but I'm on the more positive side for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It was very weird. This movie was absolutely weird. Very weird. But I liked it. Wanda was Wanda. I like the fact that Wanda was kind of more of a villain. Her motivation was kind of odd, but I guess coming off of WandaVision, it works decently. And just seeing her thrash everything was really cool. Wanda is one of the most overpowered of the Avengers, of all the characters who at least at some point were good. And the whole Illuminati thing was just whack. I don't know what to think of that. But unfortunately, it didn't really do anything with the end credit scene from the first Doctor Strange with the Mordo guy, hunting down sorcerers, or yeah, I don't know. Overall, I liked it. Anyways, 14 is Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm going to go in and put 13 Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I love both these movies. Most people put Guardians of the Galaxy above Volume 2, but I actually liked Volume 2 just a little bit more. Guardians of the Galaxy was the first MCU movie I watched. I watched it in theaters. I was 8 at the time. Um, and it was great. I loved it. And Volume 2 was, in my opinion, even better. Like, it went even more on the funny factor, and also the end fight, which is really awesome. It was really long, but also really awesome. I generally like long fights. Like, you can see that from where I'm going to put Avengers Endgame. Um, so, yeah. Both these movies are great. They're very funny. The characters are usually good throughout it. Especially Ego. I really liked Ego. Um, and yeah, good duology. Can't wait for Volume 3. And the last in A tier at number 12 is um, Captain America: The First Avenger. The Cap trilogy is great. This is the weakest one, but it's still great. Um, and yeah, Red Skull is another decent villain, but not great. The um, the characters are good. Bucky's death was emotional, and it would lead to some really interesting. Well, death. He didn't die, but we all know that. It'll lead to really interesting stuff in the sequel. Um, Overall, it was the World War II setting was also pretty interesting. Um, I'm a sucker for World War II era and just like war movies. So yeah, overall, I really like this movie. If of course, if you're gonna watch the MCU chronologically, then this is the one to start because it takes place earlier than all the others. Unless you want to count the like first part of Eternals, Eternals takes place over a very long time period, but yeah. Anyways, moving into S tier at number 11 is Shang Chi. This movie was great. Zhu Wenwu was an absolutely fantastic villain. Shang Chi is a great character. It kind of paid off Iron Man 3 a little bit in a weird way. Seeing Wong and Abomination fight was pretty fun. Wonder if we'll actually see Abomination in a villainous role again. Although there is that She-Hulk series, so maybe we will. The whole the fight choreography really shined here. All of the main characters were good. Overall, I really cannot say a negative thing about this movie. This movie was excellent, much better than I thought it would be. And number 10, Thor: Love and Thunder. Honestly, these two could be interchangeable for the second best movie of Phase 4, but right now I'm thinking of Thor: Love and Thunder being better. And now, if you don't want spoilers for this movie, then just skip to somewhere later. Yeah, whatever. I'm too lazy to put the whole timeline feature for each movie, so yeah. Anyways, Thor: Love and Thunder is good. It is not as good as Thor Ragnarok, but it is still very good. The pacing is weird, but so as like a lot. So is most of. Well, Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness had weird pacing too. A lot of movies have weird pacing nowadays, like Jurassic World Dominion, for example. But I'm slowly getting used to the new style that's being used. So yeah, the funny factor is still here and still good. Gore was actually a very interesting villain. I think he was probably the star of the show in this movie. Um, the whole Jane Foster thing was weird at first, but I got used to it and it was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I like this one. The critics were very unfair with it, unfortunately, but they're unfair to a lot of things. They gave King of the Monsters a 42%, and for that, I will never trust movie critics again. Anyways, next, at number 9 is The Avengers. This is basically the culmination of Phase 1. This movie was excellent. It's the first major crossover event of the MCU, of which there would be more. And it was brilliant. Almost everything about this movie is great. There is nothing bad about the Avengers. There is nothing bad about any of these movies coming up. So, yeah. Let's just move on because I don't have anything more to say. Next is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This is like a spy thriller on steroids, and it is absolutely amazing. I think it did the whole spy thing much better than Black Widow. This Bucky was a very good villain in this movie, even though he was only kind of a villain. And the whole shield being taken over from the inside by Hydra was interesting. Overall, I just like everything about this movie. It is a little slow, but everything else makes up for it this time. So yeah. Moving on. Number 7 is Black Panther. I love this movie. Eric Killmonger is one of the best MCU villains. Basically, all the characters are good. What's not to love about this movie? I've seen people ragging on it recently compared to when it came out. I don't know why. I love this movie. I don't know why people are starting to dislike it a little bit more. Yeah, it sheds some light on like African. It's just Africa in general, which doesn't really happen that much, which is nice. What's nice is that it's. I can't talk. Basically, I'm glad that it's shedding some light on a part of the world that people usually don't seem to care about. There. These videos aren't scripted. I'm too lazy to make a script, so I just sound like an idiot all the time. Yeah, Black Panther is an absolutely amazing movie. Number 6 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. That's this one, I think. Yeah, that's. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this movie was absolutely amazing. It was very funny. The action was good. The characters were all good. The villain was especially good. Um, and ever since I saw this, the MCU Spider-Man was my favorite Spider-Man. Even though I didn't really see many more Spider-Mans before that or after. But yeah, the this is just amazing. And it's not even the best of the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, somehow. But yeah, this movie is excellent. I know I'm speeding through. Yeah. And the last in S tier, at number 5, is Captain America: Civil War. The third and best of the Cap trilogy. Really, it's more like Avengers Civil War, but yeah, this movie was absolutely amazing. I didn't see it in theaters, even though I should have. In fact, a good amount of the... Basically, I saw... the ones I saw in theaters, I've seen all of Phase 4 in theaters. I've seen all of Phase 3, starting from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I saw Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy as well in theaters. So yeah. But yeah, this was Um, it was just epic. If you've seen it, you already know it's amazing. Everyone was talking about Batman vs Superman, but then that movie ended up not being very good, and then everyone started talking about this because it ended up being so much better. Uh, so yeah, excellent movie. Moving on. Now moving into X tier, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. And at number 4 is the best Phase 4 MCU movie, which is Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, what's not to love about this movie? Everything in this movie is just awesome. Doctor Strange could have been used a little more, but even then, he got his own movie just a few months later. So, yeah. Um, the previous 2 live action Spider-Man actors returning was really cool. The whole dynamic between the 3 Spider-Men was really cool. Everything in this movie was amazing. Moving on. Avengers Endgame. Now, if it weren't for the absolutely amazing third act, this would be an S tier, but because the rest of the movie really wasn't as great. But the third act is the best 30 minutes of, like, some of the best 30 minutes of movie I've ever seen. This is how you make a good movie. Is like, imagine a whole 3-hour movie of that's just like that 30 minutes. That would be heaven on earth. But unfortunately, that's not all. That's the rest of the movie isn't that amazing, so it sits at number 3. But yeah, it's literally one of the biggest movie events in history. It got so much, like, an absolutely ridiculous amount of money, and yeah, it was just awesome. But I don't think it's the best of the Avengers quadrilogy. At number 4, sorry, not number 4. Number 2 is Avengers: Infinity War. I think it was just a little bit better than Endgame because it was the great, just amazingness is sprinkled more evenly throughout the movie. Thanos is, I think, the second best villain in movie history, but nothing's beating Emperor Palpatine. And there's action pretty much everywhere, which is great. All the characters are great except Star-Lord, who was kind of an idiot in this movie, but still. Everything was great in this movie. Yeah, I know I'm really speeding through. I don't care. And lastly, number 1 is Thor Ragnarok. I love this movie and everything about it. This is like my MCU movie. It is, in my opinion, the funniest MCU movie, and has a great villain. Introduces Korg, who is just based. Introduces Valkyrie, who is also based. Destroys Asgard, which is sad, but, you know, Asgard is not a place, it is a people. Everything about this movie is amazing. Taika Waititi, he's awesome. I mean, he does well in Free Guy. He directed these 2 Thor movies that are absolutely amazing. He's based. Overall, I mean, it's just amazing. I don't know what else to say besides amazing. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Just a short-ish video to get out, because I don't know what else to make for YouTube right now. I really have no idea. Please leave suggestions. I don't know what to do. Yeah, subscribe and like if you want, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.